Greetings and welcome to Political Empire. I'm your host, Kim Pierceall with the Press Enterprise and PE.com. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to give you a little update on what's going on with the Route 66 rendezvous in San Bernardino because there was a little bit of confusion. And then we'll go to an interview that I recorded earlier with Alicia Robinson to talk about the back and forth that's been going on in the Riverside mayor's debate. So first, Route 66. First, it was going to be in San Bernardino in mid-September, like it always is. Then with the city impending bankruptcy, now they filed for bankruptcy, it was going to go to Devore in San Bernardino County. Now it looks like it's officially going to stay in downtown San Bernardino. The costs that were attached to hosting this in San Bernardino were about $80,000 for safety costs and for police enforcement and for cleanup. So where that money is going to come from is a bit of a question mark at this point, but the San Bernardino Convention and Visitors Bureau did indeed vote to keep this event in downtown San Bernardino despite the city of San Bernardino's filing for bankruptcy. And now we'll go to an interview I recorded earlier with Alicia Robinson to talk about quite the back and forth that's been going on in the Riverside mayor's race between Ed Adkison and Rusty Bailey. Riverside's mayor's race is bound to be a doozy, with it being the first time in a very long time that the city won't be led by a certain Mayor Love. The two contenders, incumbent Councilman Rusty Bailey and former Councilman Ed Adkison, have been going back and forth fairly nonstop in the past few weeks. And here to catch us up on what the two are saying about each other is Riverside reporter Alicia Robinson. Alicia, thanks so much for being here today. So what are the two saying about each other?
Well, it all started a few weeks ago when Ed Adkison, I think, felt the need to kind of try to generate some momentum for his campaign. He had come in second place to Rusty in the June 5th election, and so I think he wanted to kind of garner some attention for himself. He held a press conference and announced that he was promising, if elected, to cut the mayor's budget in half, and he challenged Rusty to do the same thing. So Rusty's response to that was to point out, using city records that he pulled on budgets and how council votes had gone, that in Adkison's 8 years on the council, he had largely supported increases of the overall city budget from around $430 million to a total of $1 billion, and that he had generally been supportive of increases to the mayor's budget, when he was a councilman. So then Ed returned fire, basically commenting that he did not, when he was on the council, did not expense any lunches, didn't, charge the city and turn in his receipts for different things he did as a councilman. He had also previously pointed out that he did not take a salary for his last year and a half in office, and he renewed his request to Rusty to meet his challenge and pledge to cut the budget.
And interestingly enough, Ed Adkison, in this last press release that was sent out, his campaign spokesman had a choice phraseology for how to refer to Rusty Bailey, correct? He referred to him in a certain manner, not as Rusty Bailey, but as...
Yeah, he actually called him William Jr., which I think is kind of an attempt to highlight Ed's experience as a longtime businessman in town and having served 2 full terms on the council, whereas Rusty just was elected to his second term recently and is somewhat younger age-wise than Ed. Yeah, the press release refers to him specifically as William Jr., which technically he's actually William R. Bailey III.
And it's a long ways till November. They're campaigning nonstop. What are we going to experience up until then?
Well, I think that the fact that they've been sort of hitting each other on fiscal issues this early out of the gate indicates that we're going to hear a lot of that, where each one of them trying to position themselves as being sort of more fiscally responsible and the best person to guard Riverside residents' tax dollars.
Nice. Well, keep us posted again. We're going to be here keeping tabs on all the races until November, and we hope you're going to be here as well watching Political Empire. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.